We're joined in studio by the Israeli Parliament member, Minister Moshe Feiglin from the Likud party. Mr. Feiglin, good morning to you. You and I had a chance to chat on the phone yesterday during the information about this heinous attack in Jerusalem came about, and you said that this is the time for Prime Minister Netanyahu to come out flatly yesterday or today and announce that Jerusalem is under Jewish sovereignty. Do you still believe that's the case?
Of course.
Why? I mean, doesn't that put us at war with Jordan as well?
Israel have to decide. We, the Israelis, have to decide. Is Jerusalem is still our capital? Is the Temple Mount belongs to the Jews or to the Arabs? I guess we got to the point where we cannot run away from that decision anymore. The fact that we're living in a place and we leave it without clear sovereignty pulls in all these forces that trying to all these terrorists forces and increase the violence. I think, and I wrote in my Facebook page just a morning before the slaughter, this horrible slaughter in the synagogue in Jerusalem, just 24 hours before, I wrote that the fact that Prime Minister Netanyahu ran twice to King Abdullah in Amman as a result of different shooting and attempt to killing Jews in Israel sent a message that encourage terrorism, and we'll see very soon more acts like that. But, and it took less than 24 hours that exactly what I understood is going to happen because of this way of behaving of the Israeli leadership.
But that is, I mean, it is no secret, it's actually a fact that the Temple Mount is under custodial, also under custodial responsibility and, you know, ownership, if one wants to say, of the Jordanians. You know, that's something that has been agreed upon, you know, in political and documents that have been signed.
Nothing of what's going on today in the Temple Mount was agreed on. I think it was a terrible mistake, a mistake that has to be fixed. The fact that Jews cannot pray in the holiest place to the Jewish people, in the place where our first temple and second temple stood almost 1,500 years before Muhammad was even born, is ridiculous.
But is there an understanding?
However, even those who are talking about status quo are not saying the truth. The status quo was... What?
How so? Yeah.
Because the status quo was that Jews can go up to the Temple Mount, not praying, unfortunately, to our shame, but still can go whenever they want, in any quantity, in any amount they want. Definitely not suffer from what they're suffering today on the Temple Mount. All we are talking about right now is keeping the status quo. Those who are destroying the status quo and starting a religious war are the Arabs, the Muslims, not the Jews.
But is there an understanding from people, you know, like yourself, that have such strong feelings towards Temple Mount, rightfully so, because religion, you know, invokes strong feelings, that the other side, the Palestinian side, that views Temple Mount, as it calls it, a Haram al-Sharif, that views it as also their holy place, and that when they see Israeli soldiers on that ground that is sacred to them, whether you agree with it or not, that will stir up the same type of emotions and animosities as it does on the Jewish side.
So it's about time that somebody will understand, and I'm not talking about the Jews who understood it all the time, that either they can at least live with both sides in peace, or yes, we are at war. And there's a third option as well. We can just run away from Jerusalem. But let me tell you something. If we run away from the Temple Mount does not belong to us. Jerusalem does not belong to us, and also Yaffo, where we're sitting right now, does not belong to us. So the first barricade to the Jewish sovereignty on the entire land starts at the Temple Mount. And we cannot decide to give up on that basic. We as the Jewish people, as the Jewish nation, cannot give up on that.
The question, though, remains that if this conflict, because, I mean, and you know, you can agree with me or not, but it's no secret that this conflict over the course of the last several years has been a territorial conflict. If it moves to passages of religion, as we're seeing the entire region fighting over whose religion is bigger, whose religion is stronger in many, many ways, doesn't it pose a danger that there will never, ever be any type of sit-down negotiations and that two peoples are never going to reach a conclusion of being able to live next to each other? Because nobody's going away.
You know, you're wrong, and I'm not blaming you, because this is the assumption, but it's false.
Why?
It was never about territory. It was always about religion. The 100 years of conflict here in the land of Israel was never about territory. For example, did you ever hear about a claim to a so-called Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria when Jordan controlled these territories? Once? Can you quote one what you call Palestinian figure who said to the Jordanians before 67, let's create a land over here? I know that all the Arabs tried to attack the small Jewish state few times before 67. They never needed the Temple Mount to slaughter Jews. They did it before 67 as well. They did it in 1929, they did it in 1936, they didn't after the creation of the Jewish state. It is not about territory. It is about religion. The source of the conflict is religion. And let me tell you something, not only in Israel, also in London. So we can run away from the fact that, or from the real deep religious sources of the conflict. It's not going to solve the problem. Only if we face the truth and we understand the source of the conflict, we can start deal with it and achieve peace. If we're going to lie to ourselves, peace we're going to get.
Then
we're
what
not
type
going to
of
get
peace
from
is
this.
it? Achieving, getting to the source of the issue. If it is religion, then what type of peace do you envision?
Many Arabs, Israeli Arabs, coming to me to the Knesset, talking to me, including Knesset members, and of course, I'm not going to tell you the names, and tells me that they want me to be the Prime Minister of Israel, because they want to be able to live in peace in Israel, the way Israel, the aisle we're taking right now, aisle that encourage the violent. Do not let the Arabs here who wants to live in peace do so. They understand that if we're not going to have here a leadership that deeply understand what we're doing here in this land, deeply create a clear message that this is the Jewish land, only the Jewish land. No one else will be able to take it away from us.
Arab
there will be no peace over here.
But Arab ministers or Arab Israelis are saying that if you say that there will be peace. That's something.
Yes.
I mean, come on. I mean, there must be an understanding that the million.
I'll give you an example. I'm sure you heard about the name Hanin Zouabi.
Yes, I have. I mean,
Okay.
to our audiences.
Hanin Zouabi has a nephew who came up, 16 years old, okay, Arab youngster, who came up on YouTube and everywhere, become very famous in the last summer, declaring that he is loyal to the state of Israel as a Jewish state. You know what happened to him? He cannot live in Israel anymore. His neighbors made his life so miserable, he had to leave the state of Israel. Why? Because the leadership of Israel did not do what I'm saying right now.
But if they
put your hand there, send a very clear message.
Mr. Feiglin.
This is a Jewish state.
If you say that this is a Jewish state, then let me ask you this: do you believe in the right of a Palestinian state to exist?
There is Palestinian.
A Palestinian state
Yes.
next to the state of Israel, a two-state solution.
When you say, well, let's make a fact very, very clear. When you're talking about two-state solution, I'm definitely against it. I'm in favor of.
Then how do you envision the peace that you're proposing?
It is very simple. The solution is one-state solution. Only the Jews control the Jewish state, the Jewish land, the land of Israel, the Holy Land that was given to us by God, God that all believers in Bible believe in the same God, and those who reads it know exactly who this land belongs to. Everybody can live here in Israel with us as long as they understand that this is the Jewish state. If they don't understand and fight against the basic sovereignty of the Jews on their land, then we are at war. If they do accept the full sovereignty of the Jews in their land, can stay here and get all the human rights.
But then how do you propose for the people of Jerusalem, as we're seeing the sporadic violence of people who are living in East Jerusalem that do not see, it's not even the question of being, a Jewish state. They just want their own state, what they call, a future Palestine. What would you do with those people?
They have already 22 wonderful democratic Arabic states around. They can choose or create another one anywhere else they want, but not on the Jewish land.
Well, sadly, it's a solution that doesn't seem to be working for the Palestinian Authority. Don't we think, though,
if that's the case, we are at war. And we have to understand that and stop fooling ourselves. Since this concept of two-state solution came up 20 years ago in Oslo, we got 4 times more killing in the Middle East. We got only wars. We got more terror, not only here, but in the entire world. We should understand that this is the land of the Jews, only the Jews. Those who want to will live with us inside our land in peace, will get all their human rights. But it's a Jewish state, it will never be any kind, and there will never be any kind of different sovereignty in our land, definitely not in our capital, definitely not in the middle of the capital, the Temple Mount, the holiest site for the Jewish nation.
Well, again, first of all, your opinions, we will agree to disagree, but I do thank you very, very much for being with us this